The giant virgin bride cried, "This is my first time and it hurts so much," but the gentle rancher. She had never been to a place like this before, and the sheer openness of the land, with its endless stretches of green pastures and tall oak trees, made her feel both small and oddly at home. Clara had always felt different, taller than most people, with broad shoulders and long, strong limbs that made her stand out wherever she went. Yet in this quiet, sprawling ranch, she sensed she could just be herself, without the constant feeling of being judged or compared to others. The ranch was run by Henry, a gentle and calm man who had grown up there and knew the land as if it were a part of him. He had broad hands, tanned from years of work under the sun, and a voice that was soft but carried authority. When he saw Clara approaching, he gave her a warm smile, one that instantly put her at ease. There was a kindness in his eyes, a patience that seemed rare in the world outside this quiet countryside. Clara felt an unexpected sense of trust and comfort, as if she had known him far longer than the few minutes since she first stepped onto the ranch. Clara had come to the ranch to help, but also to learn. She had always loved animals, and the idea of spending time with horses, feeding the chickens, and helping with the daily chores filled her with a mixture of excitement and anxiety. She wasn't used to physical work, though she was strong enough, and she worried that she might struggle to keep up with the rhythm of ranch life. But Henry had assured her that there was no pressure, only learning at her own pace, and she clung to that reassurance as she stepped down from the dusty old truck and onto the soft ground of the farmyard. "Good morning," Henry said, extending his hand. "You must be Clara." "Welcome to Pine Hill Ranch." Clara took his hand, noticing the strength in it and the warmth it carried. "Thank you," she said softly. Her voice was a little hesitant, betraying the nervous flutter in her chest. She looked around, taking in the sight of horses grazing peacefully, a few dogs wagging their tails, and the distant hills rolling gently toward the horizon. Everything felt serene, yet she couldn't shake the nervous energy that made her stomach twist into knots. Henry noticed her unease and gave a reassuring smile. "Don't worry, you'll get the hang of things. Start slow, take your time. The animals respond to calm energy more than force." Clara nodded, grateful for his gentle guidance. She began with the horses, learning to brush their coats and feed them from a bucket of oats. At first, her hands felt clumsy, and she worried she was doing everything wrong. But Henry moved beside her, showing her how to stand, how to hold the brush, how to talk softly to the animals. "They can sense fear and hesitation," he explained. "If you approach them with patience, they will respond in kind." She spent the morning learning to groom the horses, feeling their warm bodies beneath her hands and hearing their low whinnies and gentle snorts. Each moment gave her a strange mix of calm and exhilaration. She realized she had never felt so connected to animals before, and this connection filled her with a quiet joy she hadn't known she could feel. After the horses, she helped collect eggs from the chicken coop. The chickens were curious and somewhat chaotic, pecking at the ground and flapping their wings. Clara laughed, a bright sound that echoed across the yard as one particularly bold hen pecked at her shoe. Henry chuckled at her reaction. "They'll test you at first," he said. "But they're harmless. You just need to be confident, not scared." By midday, the sun had climbed high, and Clara felt the warmth on her skin and the light ache in her muscles. She was tired, but the kind of tired that came from real work, a satisfying fatigue that made her feel alive. They paused for lunch under the shade of a large oak tree, where Henry had set out sandwiches and fresh lemonade. They sat together on a wooden bench, sharing stories about their lives, the ranch, and the world beyond the hills. Clara found herself opening up in a way she rarely did. She spoke of her childhood in a crowded city, where she had always felt different and out of place. She talked about the struggles of being taller than most girls, the awkwardness of fitting in, and the loneliness she sometimes felt despite being surrounded by people. Henry listened attentively, never interrupting, his gaze steady and kind. "You know," he said finally, "being different isn't a weakness. It gives you perspective. It makes you strong in ways most people never understand. You've come all this way, and look at you, you're doing better than you think." Clara smiled, a little shyly, but a warmth spread through her chest. There was something about his words that felt true, something that eased the self-consciousness she had carried for so long. She realized she was beginning to trust not only the ranch and its animals, but also Henry himself. He wasn't judging her. He was guiding her, supporting her, and that made all the difference. The afternoon was spent repairing a fence that had been damaged in the last storm. Clara struggled at first, trying to lift heavy wooden posts and hammer nails into stubborn boards. But Henry was patient, showing her the techniques, correcting her gently, and offering encouragement. Step by step, she learned, and by the end of the day, she had helped secure the fence along a stretch of pasture. She felt a deep sense of accomplishment, a pride in her own abilities she rarely experienced in her daily city life. As the sun began to dip behind the hills, painting the sky in shades of orange and pink, Clara sat on the porch of the small ranch house, sipping water and letting the sounds of the evening wash over her. The animals were settling down for the night, the horses grazing quietly, the dogs lying in the shade, and the chickens clucking softly in their coops. The world felt calm and safe, a sharp contrast to the bustling streets she had left behind. Henry joined her with 2 mugs of hot tea. "You did well today," he said simply, handing her a mug. "You handled more than most newcomers could." Clara took a sip, feeling the warmth seep into her hands and body. She realized she had faced her fears, taken on new challenges, and discovered a side of herself that was capable and strong. More than that, she had found a space where she could be herself, without judgment, and where someone genuinely cared about her well-being. As the first stars appeared in the night sky, Clara felt a quiet happiness she hadn't known she could feel. She knew that this was only the beginning of her journey on the ranch, a journey that would test her, teach her, and perhaps even change her in ways she couldn't yet imagine. But for the first time in a long while, she felt ready to face whatever came next, with courage, patience, and a growing sense of belonging. The next morning, Clara woke to the soft glow of dawn spilling through the curtains of the small guest room she had been given at Pine Hill. Ranch. Birds chirped cheerfully outside, their songs carrying across the pastures, and the smell of fresh hay and earth drifted through the open window. She stretched, feeling the ache from yesterday's work in her arms and legs, and smiled. It was the kind of tired that made her feel alive, a satisfying exhaustion that city life had never given her. After dressing in comfortable clothes suitable for farm work, she made her way down the wooden stairs to the kitchen, where Henry was already preparing breakfast. The smell of frying eggs and fresh coffee filled the room. He turned with a warm smile as she entered. "Morning, Clara. Sleep well?" Clara nodded, still a little groggy but excited for the day ahead. "Yes, actually, it feels so peaceful here." "I didn't realize how much I needed this kind of quiet." Henry chuckled softly. "This place has a way of slowing life down. It gives you time to think, to notice the small things. You'll see, it's different from anywhere else." They ate a simple breakfast together, sharing stories and laughter. Clara felt herself becoming more comfortable, more at ease, as if she belonged in this quiet corner of the world. She had always been self-conscious about her height and strength, feeling awkward in crowded spaces, but here on the ranch, her size felt natural. She could lift hay bales with ease, reach high branches on the trees, and handle the horses with confidence. For the first time, she didn't feel out of place. After breakfast, Henry suggested they take a walk around the ranch to check on the animals and see what needed to be done that day. Clara followed, enjoying the crisp morning air and the sound of the gravel crunching beneath their boots. The ranch stretched far and wide, with rolling hills, wooden fences, grazing pastures, and a small stream that sparkled in the morning sunlight. Clara's heart lifted as she watched the horses trot in the distance and the chickens pecking at the ground. It was a world full of life, order, and simple beauty, a stark contrast to the crowded, noisy streets she had left behind. Their first stop was the stables, where the horses awaited their morning feed. Clara greeted them by name, remembering the way Henry had taught her to approach each one. There was Bella, the gentle mare who loved to nuzzle her hand; Duke, a spirited stallion who often tested new riders; and little Pippin, a young colt who was still learning the ways of the ranch. Clara felt a surge of pride as she fed and groomed them, noticing how they responded to her calm presence. Henry watched her with a quiet satisfaction. "You're improving quickly," he said. "The horses sense that you respect them. That's why they respond well." "You have a natural patience, Clara. Don't underestimate it." Clara smiled, feeling encouraged. She realized that this work was teaching her more than just how to care for animals. It was teaching her about herself, her abilities, and the power of quiet confidence. After the stables, they moved on to the vegetable garden. The soil was rich and dark, and the rows of plants stretched neatly across the field. Clara had never gardened before, and she marveled at the sheer variety of vegetables and herbs growing there. Tomatoes, carrots, lettuce, basil, and more. Henry showed her how to water them carefully, remove weeds without disturbing the roots, and check for signs of pests or disease. "This garden feeds the ranch," Henry explained. "Everything here comes from hard work and care. The land gives back what you give to it." Clara nodded thoughtfully, realizing how much effort went into every meal and every chore on the ranch. It was a lesson in patience and respect for life, a rhythm that city life had never demanded of her. She felt herself connecting not only to the animals but also to the earth, to the land that had been tended for generations. As the morning passed, Henry suggested they check on the far pasture, where a group of sheep had been grazing. The pasture was farther than she had expected, and the walk gave Clara a chance to take in the beauty of the surrounding hills. Sunlight sparkled off the morning dew, and a gentle breeze rustled the leaves in the trees. Clara breathed deeply, feeling a sense of calm she hadn't known she could feel in her daily city life. At the far pasture, the sheep were scattered across the grassy slope, some nibbling on fresh grass, others resting in the shade. Henry showed Clara how to count them, check for injuries, and guide them back to the pen if needed. Clara found herself enjoying the task more than she had anticipated. The rhythm of the work, the soft bleating of the sheep, and the sound of her own footsteps on the grass created a peaceful harmony. "See," Henry said with a smile, "life here isn't always easy, but it has its rewards. You learn to care, to notice, to be patient. And in return, the animals respond, the land responds, and sometimes you even surprise yourself with what you can do." Clara felt a warm glow in her chest. She realized he was right. The ranch was teaching her about resilience, responsibility, and the quiet satisfaction of contributing to something larger than herself. For the first time, she felt capable in a way she hadn't in years. After returning the sheep to the pen, they took a break under the shade of a large oak tree. Henry handed her a bottle of water, and they sat together in companionable silence, watching the clouds drift lazily across the sky. Clara found herself opening up again, telling Henry stories about her life, her dreams, and her fears. She spoke of the times she had felt out of place, the moments of doubt and loneliness, and the small victories she had achieved despite feeling different. Henry listened without judgment, nodding occasionally, offering gentle encouragement. "Everyone has a path to follow," he said. "Some paths are smooth, some are rocky, and some take you to places you never imagined. You're on your path now, Clara. And it's shaping you into someone stronger than you realize." The afternoon brought more hands-on work. Clara helped mend a broken water trough, learning how to use basic tools and problem-solve when things didn't go as planned. She learned to lift carefully, hammer precisely, and measure accurately. Henry guided her patiently, correcting mistakes gently and praising effort. Each success, no matter how small, filled Clara with a quiet pride. Later, they prepared the animals for the evening. Horses were fed, the chickens were tucked into their coops, and the sheep were counted one last time. Clara felt a sense of accomplishment wash over her as she watched the animals settle down for the night. The ranch had its own rhythm, and she was beginning to understand it, to become a part of it. As twilight descended, painting the sky in shades of orange, pink, and purple, Clara and Henry sat on the porch of the ranch house. The world was calm, alive with soft sounds, the rustle of leaves, the distant call of a night bird, the gentle murmur of the stream. Clara sipped her tea, feeling warmth and contentment spread through her. "You've come a long way in just 2 days," Henry said softly. "Not just with the chores, but with yourself. You're learning patience, strength, and care, and that's something not everyone manages in a lifetime." Clara smiled, her heart full. She realized how much she had changed in such a short time. She felt stronger, more capable, and more connected to the land, the animals, and to the people who genuinely cared for her. For the first time in a long while, she felt like she belonged somewhere, like she had found a place that welcomed her for who she truly was. As night fell, Clara retired to her room, tired but fulfilled. She thought about the lessons of the day, the small victories, and the growing bond with Henry. She drifted to sleep with a sense of peace, knowing that life on the ranch held challenges, yes, but also joy, growth, and a quiet magic she had never experienced before. The morning air was crisp, carrying the scent of earth and dew as Clara stepped outside her small guest room. She yawned and stretched, feeling the soreness from yesterday's work, but also a quiet satisfaction. She had grown more confident in her abilities, and the rhythm of ranch life was beginning to feel familiar, like a song she was learning to hum. The sound of birds singing and the faint lowing of cows in the distance welcomed her into another day of learning and discovery. Henry was already outside, checking the fences near the horse pasture. He waved at her with a friendly grin. "Good morning, Clara. Ready for today?" Clara smiled and nodded. "Yes, I feel like I'm starting to understand how everything works here," Henry chuckled. "That's the spirit. Today we'll be doing a few different things. I want you to get a feel for all parts of the ranch, not just the stables." After breakfast, they set out toward the far fields where the new crop of vegetables and hay were growing. Clara carried a small basket, ready to help with the harvest, while Henry guided her through the rows. He showed her how to inspect the plants carefully, how to pick only what was ready, and how to handle the produce gently so nothing was damaged. Clara was amazed at the variety of vegetables: plump tomatoes, crisp lettuce, bright peppers, and fragrant herbs. She realized that the care and attention put into each plant made them thrive, and she felt proud to be part of this process. "You're doing well," Henry said, noticing her careful handling of the plants. "It's not just about strength, but patience and observation. You're learning that quickly." Clara felt a warm pride in his words. She realized that every task on the ranch required more than physical effort. It required thought, care, and respect for life. It wasn't always easy, but it was rewarding, and she could see the results of her work right in front of her. After tending to the vegetables, they moved on to repair a section of the barn roof that had been damaged in a recent storm. Clara had never climbed so high before, and a small flicker of nervousness ran through her. Henry noticed immediately. "Take it slow," he said. "You don't have to rush. Safety comes first." Step by step, he showed her how to climb, balance, and handle the tools. Clara's muscles protested at first, but she gradually found her rhythm, feeling a sense of accomplishment with each beam she secured. By the time the task was finished, she was tired but exhilarated. She had faced a fear, learned a new skill, and discovered that she could handle more than she thought. Once the barn roof was repaired, Henry suggested they take a short break by the stream that ran along the edge of the property. Clara followed, enjoying the cool water and the gentle rustling of the trees. They sat together on large rocks, dipping their feet into the clear, flowing water. Clara marveled at the simplicity of it all: the sound of water running over stones, the way the sunlight danced on the surface, and the calm that seemed to settle over her. "You're really getting the hang of ranch life," Henry said, tossing a small pebble into the water. "It takes time to understand it all, but you're learning quickly," Clara nodded. "I feel like I'm learning more about myself than I ever did in the city. I didn't realize how much I needed this kind of work, this connection to the land and animals." Henry smiled. "It changes you, doesn't it? Makes you see things differently, appreciate the little things. Life out here is simple, but it's not easy. The reward is in the effort and in the care you put into everything you do." After their break, they returned to the ranch to tend to the animals. Today, Clara helped gather eggs, feed the chickens, and clean out the coops. She had grown more confident in handling the animals, and they seemed to respond to her calm presence. Even the shyest hens came closer, pecking gently at her boots, and the cows lowed softly as she approached with their feed. Clara realized that patience and gentleness worked far better than force, a lesson she had learned quickly under Henry's guidance. By midday, the sun was high and the heat was strong. They paused for lunch on the porch, enjoying sandwiches, fresh fruit, and lemonade. Clara felt a warm sense of camaraderie with Henry, who shared stories about growing up on the ranch, the challenges he had faced, and the joys of living close to the land. She listened intently, fascinated by his knowledge, his wisdom, and the quiet strength he carried. After lunch, they prepared to take the horses out for a short ride along the trail that wound through the hills. Clara felt a mix of excitement and nervousness, but Henry reassured her. "Remember, it's all about balance and communication. Trust the horse and the horse will trust you." Clara mounted her horse carefully, feeling the animal's muscles beneath her. She followed Henry along the trail, the horses moving in a steady rhythm. The hills stretched before them, bathed in sunlight, and Clara felt a sense of freedom she had rarely experienced. The wind brushed her face, carrying with it the scent of grass, flowers, and earth, and she realized that she was beginning to understand the bond between humans and animals, the silent trust that could grow between them over time. They paused at the top of a hill to take in the view. Clara looked out over the rolling fields, the distant forest, and the winding stream below. She felt a deep sense of gratitude, both for the beauty around her and for the opportunity to experience it. Henry stood beside her, calm and steady, and she realized that she had grown to respect and admire him not just for his skills, but for his character, his patience, and his kindness. The ride back to the ranch was quiet, the horses moving steadily as the afternoon sun began to dip toward the horizon. Clara felt a calm satisfaction, knowing that she had learned so much in just a few days. She was discovering abilities she hadn't known she had, and more importantly, she was learning to trust herself, to face challenges with patience and courage. As evening approached, they tended to the animals once more, feeding, checking fences, and preparing for the night. Clara felt a sense of routine and accomplishment, each task giving her confidence and a deeper connection to the ranch. By the time the stars began to twinkle in the night sky, she was exhausted but fulfilled. Henry handed her a cup of warm tea as they sat on the porch. "You've done well today," he said. "Not just with the work but with yourself. You're learning patience, resilience, and care. Those are skills that matter far beyond the ranch." Clara smiled, feeling the truth of his words. She realized that life on the ranch was teaching her more than she had ever imagined. It wasn't just about chores and animals. It was about growth, trust, and finding peace within herself. As she retired to her room that night, Clara reflected on the day's lessons. She thought about the strength she had discovered in herself, the patience she had learned, and the joy of connecting with the animals and the land. She felt a quiet excitement for the days ahead, knowing that the ranch had much more to teach her, and that she was ready to embrace each new challenge with courage and determination. Lying in bed, Clara looked out the window at the moonlight shining over the fields. The world felt calm, safe, and full of possibility. She realized that she was not only learning about ranch life but also about herself, her potential, and the peace that came from hard work, kindness, and connection. For the first time in a long while, she felt truly content, ready to face whatever the next day would bring, confident in her own strength, and grateful for the new life she was beginning to build at Pine Hill Ranch. Clara woke to the sound of birds singing in the early morning. Light, stretching, and feeling the familiar ache in her muscles from the previous day's work. She smiled, realizing that she had begun to enjoy the physicality of ranch life, the sense of purpose it brought, and the connection it gave her to the land. The ranch no longer felt like a strange new place. It was beginning to feel like home, a place where she could learn, grow, and be herself. Henry was already outside, preparing the morning chores. When he saw Clara, he waved and called out, "Morning, Clara." "Ready to start the day?" Clara nodded, feeling energized despite the early hour. "Yes, I feel like I'm learning so much each day," Henry smiled. "That's good. Today we have a few different tasks. I want you to continue learning about the animals, but also about the farm itself. There's always something to do here, and every task teaches you something new." After breakfast, they began with the horses, as usual. Clara felt more confident now, greeting each horse by name and moving with calm assurance. She brushed their coats, filled their water troughs, and checked for any signs of discomfort or injury. Henry watched her carefully, giving guidance when needed but allowing her to take the lead. "You've improved a lot since your first day," he said. "The horses sense your confidence, and that makes a difference. Keep paying attention to the little things, it will teach you even more." Clara smiled, feeling proud. She realized that the lessons she was learning on the ranch weren't just about physical tasks. They were about patience, observation, and care. Every action mattered, no matter how small, and every decision had a consequence. After the horses, Henry suggested they check on the barn and storage areas. Clara had never paid much attention to organization before, but she quickly saw the importance of keeping tools, feed, and supplies in order. Henry showed her how to stack hay properly, store equipment safely, and make sure everything was clean and accessible. Clara discovered that these tasks required more thought and planning than she had expected, and she enjoyed the sense of accomplishment when everything was in order. By mid-morning, they moved to the vegetable fields. Clara had begun to understand the rhythm of planting, watering, and harvesting. Today, she helped dig new rows for seeds, carefully measuring and spacing them according to Henry's instructions. She marveled at the precision required and the patience needed to tend to the soil. "This is harder than it looks," she admitted, wiping sweat from her forehead. Henry laughed. "It's simple in theory, but in practice it takes attention and care. You're doing fine. The soil responds to your effort." Clara continued working, feeling a growing sense of pride. She realized that life on the ranch was teaching her more than she had anticipated. It wasn't just about physical labor. It was about responsibility, dedication, and the quiet satisfaction that comes from nurturing life. As the sun climbed higher, Henry suggested they take a short walk to the far pasture, where some of the younger animals needed attention. Clara followed, enjoying the cool breeze and the gentle sway of the grass beneath her boots. They reached a small hill overlooking the pasture, and Clara paused to take in the view. The rolling fields, the scattered animals, and the distant hills created a picture of serene beauty, one that she would never have experienced in her city life. At the pasture, Clara helped guide the young calves back to the barn for feeding. She learned to be patient with them, using calm movements and soft words to lead them without causing panic. It was a delicate balance, and she quickly understood that every animal had its own personality and way of responding. Henry encouraged her, noting her progress and the care she showed. After returning the calves, they sat under a large oak tree to rest and have some water. Clara felt a deep sense of contentment as she watched the animals move about in the pasture, calm and relaxed. She realized that the bond she was forming with the ranch, the animals, and Henry was becoming stronger with each passing day. The afternoon brought a new challenge, repairing a section of the fence along the edge of the property. Clara had handled fencing before, but this section was larger and required more effort. Henry demonstrated the proper techniques for digging post holes, setting the posts firmly, and securing the boards. Clara followed carefully, feeling the strain in her arms and back, but also the satisfaction of seeing the fence take shape under her hands. "This is good work," Henry said, wiping sweat from his brow. "It's hard, but you're doing it well. Each board you set, each post you secure protects the animals and the land. That's important work." Clara nodded, feeling proud. She realized that the physical labor, the challenges, and the attention to detail were teaching her discipline and perseverance. Each task required patience, careful thought, and the willingness to keep trying even when it was difficult. As the day wore on, they returned to the barn to tend to the evening chores. Clara helped feed the animals, check the water supply, and make sure the coops and pens were secure for the night. The routine was becoming familiar, comforting even, as she moved with confidence and purpose. After the chores, Clara and Henry sat on the porch, watching the sun set over the rolling hills. The sky was painted in shades of orange and pink, and the quiet sounds of the ranch, rustling leaves, distant calls of animals, and the soft murmur of the stream, created a peaceful atmosphere. Clara sipped her tea, feeling a deep sense of satisfaction and calm. "You've grown so much since you arrived," Henry said gently. "Not just in skill, but in understanding, patience, and confidence. You're learning to see the world differently, and that's a valuable thing." Clara smiled, her heart warm. She realized he was right. The ranch was not only teaching her practical skills, but also shaping her character. She was learning resilience, compassion, and the ability to face challenges with determination. She felt grateful for this opportunity and for the patient guidance Henry provided. As the stars began to appear in the night sky, Clara retired to her room, reflecting on the day. She thought about the new skills she had learned, the progress she had made, and the growing bond with Henry and the animals. She felt a quiet confidence in herself, a belief that she could handle whatever challenges came her way. Lying in bed, she looked out the window at the moonlight shimmering over the fields. The world felt calm, safe, and full of promise. She realized that the ranch had given her more than work and routine. It had given her a sense of belonging, a connection to life and nature, and the knowledge that she was capable, strong, and resilient. Clara drifted to sleep with a sense of peace and excitement for the days ahead, knowing that each new sunrise brought more lessons, growth, and opportunities to strengthen the bond she had formed with the ranch, the animals, and the people who cared for her. She was no longer an outsider looking in. She was becoming a part of something bigger, something meaningful, and she welcomed it with an open heart. The morning air was fresh and cool as Clara stepped outside, stretching her arms and taking in the beauty of Pine Hill Ranch. She had grown accustomed to the rhythms of ranch life, the smell of the earth, the gentle lowing of cows, the rustling of leaves in the wind. Each day brought new tasks and lessons, and she felt herself growing stronger, more confident, and more connected to the land and the animals. Henry was already at work, inspecting the fences along the northern pasture. When he saw Clara, he waved with a smile. "Good morning." "Ready for the day?" Clara smiled and nodded. "Yes, I feel like I've learned so much already." Henry chuckled. "You have, and today we'll do something different. I want you to help with the new barn project. It's a bigger task, but I think you're ready for it." Clara's eyes widened slightly at the thought of a bigger project, but she felt a quiet excitement. She had grown to trust Henry and to believe in her own abilities, and this challenge felt like an opportunity to test what she had learned. After breakfast, they headed toward the site where the new barn would be built. Henry explained the plan carefully, showing Clara how to measure the foundation, set the posts, and ensure everything was level and secure. Clara listened intently, taking in every detail. She realized that this project required not just strength, but careful planning, patience, and attention to detail, skills she had been practicing every day on the ranch. Step by step, they began the work. Clara lifted, measured, and secured, her hands moving with confidence and precision. She discovered how much she had learned since her first day, the techniques, the patience, and the understanding of how to work with both tools and animals. Every action felt purposeful, and she could see the results of her effort taking shape in the structure before her. As they worked, Henry offered guidance and encouragement, praising her careful attention to detail and her growing skill. "You've come a long way," he said. "Not just physically, but in your understanding of the work and the land. That's important. It's what makes a ranch run smoothly." Clara felt a warm glow of pride. She realized that the ranch had taught her more than just chores. It had taught her resilience, problem-solving, and the satisfaction of contributing to something meaningful. Each task, no matter how small, had built her confidence and her sense of purpose. By midday, the sun was high and warm. They paused to rest and have a light lunch under the shade of a large oak tree. Clara sipped her water, feeling the warmth on her skin and the calm of the ranch around her. She looked at Henry, grateful for his patience, guidance, and friendship. "I can't believe how much I've learned in such a short time," she said. Henry smiled. "You've worked hard and you've been willing to learn, that's why. Remember, it's not just about strength, it's about care, patience, and understanding. You've shown all of that." After lunch, they returned to the barn project. Clara focused on securing the beams and checking the alignment of the posts. She worked steadily, feeling a sense of pride and accomplishment with each successful task. She realized that the challenges she had faced in the previous days, the horses, the fences, the fields, had prepared her for this moment. She was stronger, more capable, and more confident than she had ever imagined. As the afternoon passed, they made great progress. The frame of the new barn began to take shape, and Clara could see the results of her hard work standing proudly in the field. She felt a deep sense of satisfaction, knowing that she had contributed to something that would serve the ranch and its animals for years to come. When the work for the day was complete, Henry suggested a short walk to the stream. Clara followed, enjoying the gentle sound of water and the soft breeze. They paused on a large rock, looking out over the fields and pastures. The sun was beginning to set, casting a golden glow over the land. "You've grown so much," Henry said softly. "Not just in skill, but in understanding, patience, and confidence. You become a part of this ranch, not just in work, but in spirit." Clara felt a surge of gratitude and happiness. She realized that the ranch had given her more than physical skills. It had given her a sense of belonging, a connection to the land, and the knowledge that she was capable, strong, and resilient. As evening fell, they returned to the ranch house to tend to the animals for the night. Clara moved with calm assurance, feeding the horses, checking the water, and securing the coops. She had learned to anticipate the needs of the animals, to notice small details, and to handle each task with care. The animals responded to her calm presence, trusting her and moving comfortably around her. Once the chores were done, they sat on the porch, watching the stars appear in the night sky. Clara sipped her tea, feeling the peace and fulfillment of the day. She realized that she had come far since her first morning at Pine Hill Ranch. She had faced challenges, learned new skills, and discovered strength and resilience within herself. "You've truly become part of this place," Henry said, "and you've grown in ways I think even you didn't expect. Remember, it's not just about work, It's about care, patience, and understanding life in its simplest and most meaningful forms. Clara nodded, feeling a deep sense of contentment. She realized that the ranch had taught her lessons that went far beyond chores and tasks. She had learned patience, perseverance, empathy, and the quiet joy of working with purpose and care. She felt grateful for the trust, guidance, and friendship Henry had shown her, and for the connection she had formed with the land and the animals. As the night deepened, Clara retired to her room, reflecting on her journey. She thought about the challenges she had faced, the skills she had acquired, and the growth she had experienced. She realized that she had discovered a side of herself she had never known, a side that was strong, capable, patient, and compassionate. Looking out the window at the moonlit fields, she felt a quiet excitement for the future. The ranch had become more than a place to work. It had become a home, a place of learning, growth, and belonging. She knew that the days ahead would bring new challenges and opportunities, but she felt ready to face them with confidence, patience, and a sense of purpose. Clara drifted to sleep with a heart full of gratitude, knowing that her time at Pine Hill Ranch had changed her in ways she could never have imagined. She had learned to trust herself, to appreciate the simple joys of life, and to embrace challenges with courage. The ranch had given her a sense of identity, connection, and peace that she would carry with her always. When she awoke the next morning, Clara felt renewed and ready for whatever came next. She stepped outside, breathing in the fresh morning air, and smiled at the sight of the ranch bathed in sunlight. She realized that her journey had only just begun, and that each day would continue to teach her, challenge her, and help her grow. But she felt confident now, knowing that she was capable, resilient, and part of something meaningful. With a final glance at the peaceful hills, the animals grazing, and the gentle rhythm of life around her, Clara knew she had found a place where she truly belonged. A place where she could grow, learn, and live fully, surrounded by care, kindness, and the beauty of nature.